When you were a kid, was there anything your parents said to you that made you feel really happy? Like something that stayed with you even as an adult?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess like when I was a kid, so I'm the youngest of 5 girls.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was always very, very energetic, very bubbly and funny and sweet, and I could get people to, love me very quickly, and my parents loved that part of me. And so like my parents, who are immigrant traditional parents, but they were really, really supportive of stuff like that. And they always told me, right? So the things that they knew that I was good at, they really did nurture. And it's not even like the things that they said to me that made a difference. It was more so like their reactions. Like when they would see me in a play, or they would see me, entertaining all the kids at my Christmas party or whatever, their faces, they would light up, right? They love that part of me. And they laugh at my jokes. Like, I'm a very silly, inappropriate person, and I've always been that way. But my parents have always kind of loved that about me and celebrated that about me. So even just the fact that they would laugh at my jokes, it's encouraging. So yeah, I think they really did help me build that confidence, because they supported all of kind of like the crazy things I wanted to do, knowing that I was good at it.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so nonverbal expression is more important, like hugging and facial expression.
Yeah. Actually, my parents aren't huggers. They're not very affectionate.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Lately, actually, the older they get, they're better. Facial expressions, like that recognition, that was more important for me. Yeah.
Good advice to me. So this person was diagnosed with ADHD later in life, and she's still figuring things out. Medication helps, but she still procrastinates, especially with deadlines or tasks she doesn't like. Do you have any tips for staying on track?
You have been so successful in life, undiagnosed with ADHD, for so that it's because of all of these coping strategies and routines that you have put in place for yourself, not knowing that it was because you have ADHD. So I rely on a lot of things. So when it comes to like my phone, reminders, whatever it is that's going to help you with reminders, do it. I'm constantly on my phone saying, at 1 o'clock, remind me to do this. And then it's right in my face. And I do not dismiss that reminder until it's done. Right? The stupidest thing that people always say is like, why don't you get a planner? Why don't you put things in a calendar? And people with ADHD hate that, but it's so true. And once you find a system that works for you, for me, it's my phone calendar. And then I also have one on the fridge, paper calendar. For me, I always learn by doing. So when I'm writing something down, just the act of writing it down makes me remember. So that is something that's really important. Outsourcing the things that you can't or hate to do. So people with ADHD typically are much more intelligent and successful than the average person, which means we typically make more money than the average person, which I do. I'm very lucky. And so that's why I'm able to outsource the crap that I hate to do. So I have a cleaning lady, I have an accountant, I have a financial planner.
Good.
There are things that I subscribe to meal services. I get takeout. Like there are things that people, especially women with ADHD, have to just get over. Like they don't have to be superwomen, and they don't have to do everything perfectly all the time. Another thing that I love and I always talk about, I don't know if you've heard of it, is body doubling.
Body doubling.
So body doubling is with somebody else, either right there beside you or even on the phone. Or that gets distracted. I'm like, what are you doing? Where are you going? So same with things like organizing the house. I'll listen to music. If I'm not listening to music, I will not get laundry, dishes, all these things that I have to do. Always music, because that gives me my dope. And the last really good tip I have is visual cues for everything for me. Okay, especially if you're forgetful. But for me, it's like if there's something that I have to get done, I have to literally trip over it in order to get it done. So let's say I have to like return something to the store. I will put the bag on the top of my stairs, right in front of my face, so I have to trip over it in order to, and then I'll take it with me. My laundry, I'll often forget about my laundry, right? And so I learned my lesson the hard way. One time I forgot it in the wash, and all the clothes got moldy and they were ruined. So I was like, I will never let that happen again. So visual cues. So my laundry, if I am ever have anything in a machine, the door to my laundry room stays wide open. Because that bothers me. So if I know that I have to go shopping for something, groceries, I will leave the cabinet open because it's like, oh shoot, I have to go get them. So visual cues really, really help for me. So if I'm tripping over something or
Mhm.
that'll bother me, then it'll trigger me to go do something. So that's something.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So visual cues.
Yeah.
So question, when kids with ADHD don't follow instructions, how would you handle it? Do you have any advice for parents who might be struggling with this?
Yeah.
As a mom?
Yeah, and you have to really,
Oh,
we
yeah?
have weekly family meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just as much for me as they are for them. So when we say, what are some issues that we've had this week? They might say, you've been yelling at me too much. Or every time I haven't done my homework, you're taking my phone away. That's not working for me. It just makes me more mad and I don't want to do it and then I want to fail. So then you ask them, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. So how about you help me? And that's the other thing. You really have to give the kids power because ADHD kids want power. But then you have to take responsibility for it. So it's like, okay, what are your ideas? Well, it's like, okay, well, how about when I get home, I can play my video games for 3 hours and you don't bother me at all? And then I'm going to do my homework for an hour. And it's like, okay, how about when I come home, I have my dessert before my dinner, and then I'll do my homework. Okay. Like, what does it matter? Why does it matter if they have their... I think a lot of the problem is the parents. It's like you want them to do it your way. But when you partner with the kid and you figure out the way that works for them, it's so much easier. Because a lot of the times the parents also have undiagnosed ADHD or autism. And I was very much like that. So things were very black and white for me. It was like, no, you have to go to bed at this time. You have to wake up at this time. When I tell you you have to eat, you have to say, yes, ma'am. Well, that's not how we live. So, you know, when my kids eat dinner, they're allowed to get up. I don't care. We have to listen to music when we eat dinner because all of us want to die when we hear each other chew. It doesn't have to be normal ways of doing things. It has to be your way of doing things.
Yeah. Undiagnosed ADHD parents, sometimes they don't see themselves as ADHD people.
Which is very hard, yeah.
Yeah, and then when their kids get diagnosed, then they see their problems in their kids, but they just don't accept it.
Yeah.
I think that makes the problem like harder.
Yes.
Most of South Korean parents are like that, I think. Because as a teacher, when I meet students' parents, I see my students. It's very serious that undiagnosed ADHD adults just see ADHD kids really bad.
Like a lot of people with ADHD kids, if they have ADHD themselves, then they're probably the screaming parent because they're constantly dysregulated. They don't know how to deal with their emotions. Our frustration tolerance is very low. We get triggered very quickly. We have 0 to 100 temper. And so if the kid's being bad and they have the same problem, so they have a temper, so they're screaming, now I'm screaming. Screaming and yelling and fighting gives us dopamine. That's why a lot of ADHDers are conflict seeking. And that's why a lot of us end up in toxic relationships. So I was like, and I love to debate with people, but you know, screaming and yelling isn't okay. So when a parent is unaware of that piece of like, if you're screaming and they're screaming, like that's not how we're going to solve it. You have to learn to co-regulate with your kids. And that has been the most difficult thing for me to do because I am a screamer. It makes me feel better. But what I had to learn is that that's about me. That's not about my kid. So me screaming at my kid to make them do something is not helping them. It's only helping me feel better.
So I come up with a very interesting question. So as a couple relationship, like wife and husband. So mostly like mom is struggling with undiagnosed ADHD husband. Between them, the mom is always like struggling with toxic relationship. And usually mom takes many like nurturing things. I hear a lot of stories about this. Like one woman to make their husbands get diagnosed with ADHD so that he could get help in their life. But you said that it's kind of like black and white thinking.
That's right.
So it's really hard for her to persuade their husbands to go see a doctor. Do you have any advice on that?
Oh boy, well that's why I'm divorced today. But I think a lot of times couples think that if the one person gets diagnosed and medicated, that everything's going to be okay. The problem is, and the research is showing that more often, both people in a relationship have either ADHD or autism. So that can be very difficult. And that's why I think it's 70 to 80% of ADHD relationships fail, whether one person has it or the other person doesn't. And it's because of those procrastination, not being reliable, and then the emotional dysregulation, the fighting and the conflict seeking. That is really difficult on a relationship. If there's the acknowledgement that there's the ADHD piece, when they can learn that it's the symptom and not the personality, right? So if that person's not late, it's not because he doesn't love you. If he's not taking out the garbage, it's not because he's trying to be mean, that he doesn't love you, right? It's that he's forgetful. You know, he can't keep track of time. So there's certain things that when you can start to finally see the symptom for what it is, that can help a relationship, right? Sure, I was perfect. You know, I was always on time. I got the kids to school on time. I made dinner. You know, everything that I did. So that made me a control freak, right? The one spouse becomes the parent and the other one is a parent-child relationship. And that's what can kill a relationship, because that's really difficult, because you're constantly nagging that other person who's not doing all the right things and telling them that they suck. And that's very, very difficult. But when both people can acknowledge, like this, what the symptoms for what they are, and then work on them, that's great. But both people have to be fully prepared to do the work. Because when a marriage starts, and especially when kids are little, both people are working, like the stressors in life in general are really difficult. And so people who are undiagnosed are constantly going to be triggered, dysregulated, and that.
Okay, so this is the last question. So before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to say to parents or adults out there who are dealing with ADHD?
I guess my message is always like, you know what's so funny about diagnosed? And whenever people say, you know, I have ADHD, I always say, I never know whether to say congratulations or I'm sorry. Once you get a diagnosis, at least you know. Like now you know that like so many things in your life, they make sense. Knowing is really half the battle, truly. So that awareness is really, really key. But the best part about ADHD is that it's the most treatable disorder in the world. It's definitely one of the most treatable disorders in the world, especially because of the medication. So long as you're acknowledging it, you're okay with it, you know, you're at peace with your diagnosis or your kid's diagnosis, things can and will get better, right? It takes work, but so long as you're dedicated to doing all the things, especially for your kid, like if you're getting them medication, figuring that out, you're getting them accommodations at school, right? You're making sure you're having conversations with your teachers. If both parents are on the same page, there's a lot of hope. Also, like these kids and you are amazing, because people with ADHD tend to be very, very resilient. Don't like to fail, and they really can find 1,000,001 different ways to figure things out. So that's what's so great about us. That's why so many people with ADHD are police officers and work in emergency services and paramedics, because these are the people that you rely on in a crisis, because we are so good at helping people and loving people and giving people what they need. So the good news is you have everything inside you. It's just really a message of hope. Like it's not a big deal.
That's a great hopeful message.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, thanks again, Sandee Bee. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channels. Can you say 감사합니다 in Korean?
감사합니다.